It's time to leave your cinematic troubles behind. Let the takes flow through you. And let the noise from the zeitgeist subside. Welcome to Cast Against Type.
Welcome
to Cast Against Type. I'm your host, Ira Glass.
We're doing a real NPR thing.
I am your host, Colin J. Dixon, and with me is also a host, Matthew Frank.
I like the Ira Glass level.
You know, sometimes we have to gather and talk about film. You know, often have to remind ourselves that On Golden Pond really is the best movie ever made.
We'll continue once you donate. We're in our donate session. That's what they're in right now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, look, I'm not like much. I've kind of transferred to full-time podcast and audiobook guy anyway when it comes to like my listening habits. But yeah, when that stuff rolls around, immediately it's just radio death. I have to turn that shit off.
Yeah, I got an email from Ira Glass this morning.
Personally?
Yes.
Wow.
He wanted me to donate.
Oh, well, that's kind of.
Did you actually think he emailed me personally?
Well, you work in a biz that could potentially your gig could potentially make you cross paths with old Ira Glass. Maybe he's doing a new show, or maybe he's got a book, a memoir.
This American Afterlife.
He's got a memoir about not raising your voice beyond library tones.
Do you think he trained his voice like that, or he did voice training like Morgan Freeman did, where he learned or like perfected speaking at that level?
I think it's more of a Stepford Wives thing, where like once you like when you go to Culver City and walk into like the NPR studios, you just end up becoming indoctrinated into the ways of NPR. Like suddenly your sense of humor gets way lamer, and like you start saying slang that's like 10 years old, and
they all do talk at the same level. There must be like a class they have to take or a test they have to pass.
Maybe they have to learn broadcasting in an actual library, like, and they're constantly being shushed.
Even the people that are teaching them speak in that language. So even when they're being reprimanded,
I don't know,
or talked down to, it's in this. Please don't do that. Made me angry.
Not to pivot from NPR, because Lord knows that everybody loves NPR talk. But I did
donate now.
I did want to. I have no idea where this came from. I just want to.
You were giggling right before we recorded.
I want to open the window for our viewers. They're not viewers. I want to let them into like my drunk, addled brain, because like I do occasionally, make a list of some topics that I want to bring up in the show. And I wrote this down, and I must have been just fucking destroyed, because this just seems like such a thing that a drunk asshole me would write.
Mm-hmm. And
I don't know where I wanted to go with this, but I wrote, Rupert Friend kind of looks like if Frankie Muniz grew up into a real man. What did I mean by this? I mean, it's very possible that I just saw somebody tweet this, and I just don't remember who, but if not, what did I want to do? What did I want to do with that? I don't want to talk about Frankie Muniz. Although I will say, if you ever get the chance to look at old Frankie's Twitter feed,
oh no,
boy,
I don't want to.
I mean, look, we already know that he's kind of sad and maggot out and everything. That's one thing.
Oh, is he?
Well, I don't know if he's maggot out, but I know that he was definitely anti. He was definitely like, they're putting radio chips in my blood.
He's anti MAGA.
No, he's like, well, I know that he's like a NASCAR guy now, which is weird.
I was looking up Rupert Friend. He does look like his older brother that he's jealous of.
I guess in my drunk brain, I must have seen Rupert Friend somewhere and thought, if Frankie Muniz ever grew up to become a real man, that's who he would be.
Were you laughing at that?
Yeah.
So you're laughing at something that you drunkenly wrote?
Yeah.
You just pulled your list up of drunken rambles?
I pulled up some topics that I might need to drop on the show, and I saw that. And why did I write that? Wait, why did I put that on there?
You should timestamp these from now on. So if that was like 3 a.m., there'd be context here.
Oh boy, yeah, I guess that's true. Well, actually, I do have a topic that I don't need inspiration to ask you about.
Let's hear it,
Matt. This will probably have left the news cycle by the time this is released, but speaking of Donnie Trump, Have Sydney Sweeney's tits made you want to vote for him in the next coming election? You don't have to answer all at once. I understand it's a lot to take in.
I tried to avoid as much as possible of her, and that's hard to do.
Do you know what I'm talking?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Are you aware of this discourse, this pattern of think? That basically Sydney Sweeney's imposing cleavage has destroyed the woke mob. They've destroyed the left. They're the antidote to leftist thinking. And you know what?
I've seen a lot of
who am I to refute
behind them, but I guess I don't understand the logic of how she has broken the left.
From what I understand is because we see her so audaciously and freely swinging her heat around and having them foisted upon us.
Is it like old Americana? Like, this is what women looked at like in the 50s, and this is what the left doesn't like anymore.
Yeah,
and
something like that. Or it's more like, actually, it was. So what was funny about it is some lady writing for like The Economist, which like already had some article that was like, this is what real body positivity is. Let's bring body positivity back. And it's like, look, I don't give a shit if you're left or right.
Yeah.
Isn't this just another form of body positivity? And isn't body positivity amongst the myriad of things on their list of woke mind disease or whatever the fuck they're calling it? Didn't people get all upset because there's like somebody 10 pounds overweight doing fucking underwear commercials for Target or whatever, you know? Like,
yeah,
what are we talking about?
It's just
Sydney Sweeney's got big holes, got tiggles, and she needs to show everybody that.
Well, it's because it's kind of, I guess, presumptuous or assume that she's one of them. So they see it as,
I don't think we even need to presume. I think we know, right?
And listen, my disdain for her has nothing to do with that. I don't think she's that great of an actress. And so there's a whole big, she's really popular right now, and I don't see it other than she might be. For all I know, she's a smart businesswoman and is producing films and doing all that, and that's a big kudos. But
I blame Entourage for this. I think, or not Entourage. God, Entourage.
Euphoria.
Yeah. What a sad old man I am.
You loved Entourage, didn't you?
I really didn't. Although I think I've only ever seen a grand total of 4 episodes of Entourage, so maybe it would grow on me.
You've seen 4. You've seen them all. It's
sure.
What celebrity is on the episode today?
But I feel the same way about Euphoria. This is kind of like a really well shot soap opera for dumb kids.
It does feel like they're all separating themselves as much as possible from that show now.
Well, especially in wake of the last attempt that good old what's his face tried to
Levinson.
Yeah, the thing with The Weeknd.
Yeah, there's not much support for old SL out there. I think Zendaya was his biggest fan, and she hasn't really talked about Euphoria in a while.
He also gives me the vibes of kind of a weird sex pest. I don't know, like just kind of.
Which is so funny that he's the son of. It's not Robert Levinson, Barry Levinson, who does like the most family-oriented films.
Well, that's why. I mean, if your dad, it's like that Patton Oswalt bit. If you grow up with like a dork dad, your kid's gonna throw your replica Blade Runner gun up on this fucking roof and be like, "Fuck you, Dad."
Maybe old Barry was a terrible father, and he's like, "Fuck you all. I'm gonna make high school sex."
Or maybe he was
shows.
Maybe he was too wholesome. He's like, we treat everybody with respect, and it's like, no, fuck that. We just need to see a lot of kids doing drugs. Everybody likes to see the kids doing drugs. Oh man, what if we see these teenagers like boot up into their eyeball? What if we get 2 teenagers and put them in a fucking shootout? Oh man, wouldn't it be so edge?
Euphoria is good. It's going to be a good case. That shows a good case for like. Okay, we need to talk about this.
It's going to age badly.
Yeah, we need. No, why are you sliding it away from the center of the camera?
No,
we need to talk about this.
Well, first of all,
for the people that
this is an audio medium.
It is, but we do clippage here, and for people that can see it, you would think there's a bucket. There's a steel bucket on our table, and a bottle of something in it, and from the standpoint, it's on the edge of the table away from the camera. And when you look at it, you might think that there's something good in it. Maybe a champagne bottle, maybe a nice like beer or something. Tell the listeners what's in this ice bucket.
First of all, how dare you? All right. This is a bottle of High Life.
It's a single bottle of High Life in
and
an
I want
ice
to keep
bucket.
it cold. And I also want ice for afterwards when I make my Boilermaker. First of all,
you could have just poured the beer beforehand.
First of all, you don't pour out of the... You don't pour out of the champagne of beer's bottle. You know...
Oh, you're going to drink it out of the bottle.
Yeah, and I want it to stay cold.
I don't think I've ever seen you drink a beer out of the bottle.
Because it's high life. Who gives a shit what it tastes like? That's the thing.
It's the champagne of beer, though.
Oh, well, now you're coming back around
No,
on
I'm
it?
saying that's your logic, but you are saying it's also shit and I can drink it out of the bottle.
I'm just saying I don't need to like smell all the effervescent hoppy notes of the fucking rice and malt that they made this beer out of. I think I'll be okay drinking it straight out of the bottle. It's a trash person drink. I like it.
In a nice bucket.
There's a saying.
We should have pulled up an igloo cooler and that would have been better.
There is a saying. Champagne for my real friends, real pain for my sham friends, and champagne of beer for me. Okay?
Was that in a commercial from like the 80s?
No, the first part is a real thing. The second part is just my own concoction. And you know what? I'm not ashamed. Here, camera people. You know what? This is not a visual show. It's an audio show. What show?
You might ask.
And I might respond, Cast Against Type. It's a show where we attempt to restore some sanity to the discourse as it pertains to the world of cinema. In the wake of a world that is beset by hot takes and attention-seeking nonsense. And we do this in 3 different ways. 1, by addressing the cinematic conundrums submitted by you, the listener. 2, by unpacking the ideas and assertions we stumble across out there in the media, be it social or otherwise. And 3, by occasionally subjecting ourselves to mysterious media oddities. Matthew, Frank.
Oddities.
So we should probably get right to it.
Yes.
You don't want to talk about Sydney Sweeney's titties? I got nothing for you.
I'm too woke for that. I'm not woke enough.
No,
whichever one.
Apparently you're not body positive enough. Hey, we've discovered weed whackers.
Is that a weed whacker or is it a blower?
Maybe it's a Flowbee. Maybe somebody's getting
Flowbee.
You don't remember the Flowbee?
No.
The Flowbee was a device that would suck your hair up and cut it. It's kind of like that device in Wayne's World, the suck cut. Except the Flowbee was a real thing that they kind of tried to sell via direct marketing, where it would vacuum your shitty 80s hairdo up into the air and then cut the hair. And then you would end up with like a fucking, essentially either a mullet or a bowl cut.
Wait, it would float it and cut it?
It would
Or
suck it
and then
cut.
somebody cut it with scissors?
No, it would do the cutting as well.
Why did it fail?
How could it succeed is the question. What are you talking about? It's a Flowbee. Even the name is bad.
You think they're still on like the eBay market?
Yeah, they probably there's probably some nostalgist weirdo out there that's willing to pay a pretty penny
There's
for
probably a lot of old people in Florida that still cut their hair by the Flowbee.
which, you know what? That really tracks. Anyway, we're shooting straight through the bullshit today, and we're going to get on to our first segment because it's such a doozy.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know. Is it a doozy? This is one that came to you via phone call.
Yes.
Via telefono.
Yes. This is from a listener and friend of the... God, I hate saying this. Friend of the pod.
Why? Why can't you say friend of the pod?
I don't know. It sounds like very like first time or long time,
first time, last time?
Yeah.
Last time, first time? First
Yes.
time, long time?
But
Long one, short one?
this is from...
Big ball, little ball?
That's not...
I'm sorry. You were saying?
You haven't even opened up your Miller High Life yet.
I'm working on it.
This is from D.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and play this question. You have not... No,
I've not heard
you have
this
not
question.
heard this. Yeah.
Hey, this is D. I got a question for you guys. Should there be an Oscar category for Best Blockbuster? And if so, who would you have given it to this year?
Okay. Interesting.
Best Blockbuster.
Interesting. That reminds me of something that is very germane to this. So I'm going to pull that up. Why don't you lay your thoughts on this down for us?
So my initial thought is that this is a big conversation after The Dark Knight came out. I think there was a lot of upheaval with the Oscars and a lot of uproar that did not get put on the Best Picture platform that it should have. And then they obviously upped it to 10. And were you looking for your drink?
I'm trying to decide if it's time.
My initial thoughts are, what defines a blockbuster? So are we talking about whatever movie made the most money each year, or are we talking about what is representative of that year, what the big movie is of that year? Because would
they ever be different though? I mean,
yeah.
like what's a movie? Can you think of a movie that was that represented the year that wasn't also a blockbuster hit. I'm not saying that like was the biggest movie of the year, but there's very few unsuccessful movies that are going to capture the zeitgeist.
Would you say, well, I mean, this year's a pretty big, prominent one. I mean,
What?
I would argue that to answer the latter part of the question, I would argue that Barbie would win Best Blockbuster, both financially and both pop culture wise.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
But there are years where the Best Picture winner, I wouldn't say, is representative of the pop cultureness of that year.
But that's not what the question is. The question is, should there be a special category for Best Blockbuster?
Yes, but I'm saying what defines a blockbuster? Are we just strictly talking about whatever made the most money?
Well, I don't think it has to be the most, but I guess I'm just saying, is there such a thing as a blockbuster that doesn't make money? I can't think of any movies that kind of flew under the radar that just did okay at the box office that would also be considered a blockbuster. I think if you say that word to most people, they're thinking of a very popular film. Now, it doesn't have to be the most popular film of the year. Yeah, if it's about this year, it's Barbenheimer. It's going to be one of those two.
Mm-hmm. Like a year that really comes to mind is, what was the year that Get Out came out?
I'm opening it.
Do it.
But Get Out was a blockbuster. It was.
Yes,
it was
but it wasn't the Best Picture winner. So I'm looking at it in terms of like.
Well, I'm not sure why you're bringing Best Picture into this. I mean,
I don't know. My mind immediately goes to the counter argument of the counter argument.
It's too warm.
How is it too warm?
It's too warm.
There's condensation outside.
Sorry, I'm scaring the dog.
Does High Life need like the High Life needs to light gold if it's cold?
First of all, so the question didn't ask, should there be a Best Blockbuster? Well, so what exactly was this wording? Is it
Best Blockbuster? Let's
hey D, throw it down on us one more time.
Hey, this is D. I got a question for you guys. Should there be an Oscar category for Best Blockbuster?
Best Blockbuster.
And if
Best
so,
Blockbuster.
who would you have given it to this year?
Okay, so that does,
So
I guess
that's where it comes up.
that does change things a little bit because so there have been several blockbusters. At least let's talk about 2023. There were several blockbusters.
Yes.
Some of them were better than others. So I guess to the actual literal spirit of Dee's question, what you would have to do is maybe get a collection of the top earners of the year. That would include Barbie, Oppenheimer, but it would also include a lot of shit. There would be like a lot of like Minions 5 and that kind of stuff too.
I think that's where my mind goes, is that if we're going through each year and we're giving an award out, to me, it shouldn't be like, oh, Minions 5 made the most money in 2021, so we're going to give the award to that.
Because there's no contest there. I mean, if it's I don't know what the actual top earner was of 2023, but I'm pretty sure it was Barbie. Then it was either Oppenheimer or Super Mario Brothers. I'm pretty sure it's one of those. And so I'm actually looking at the box office. And yes, okay,
Same.
so it was Barbie was 1, and yes, Super Mario's was 2. So in that case, there would absolutely be no contest between 1 and 2 if we're just talking about best. So that's the problem with the category in general, is you would have to wrangle your biggest of the year. So in 2023 the box office was Barbie, Super Mario Brothers, Oppenheimer, Guardians Volume 3, which is surprising, Fast X, Spider-Verse, Wonka, Little Mermaid, Mission Impossible, Elemental. Okay, fine. So you take those top 10 or maybe even top 20.
Well, and are we taking domestic or international too?
I think you go worldwide on that, but actually that's a good question. That's a good question because we this is America. This is America. All right, in America we don't acknowledge the existence of other countries. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe fine. Maybe you go domestic because it is the Oscars. So, but where do you stop? Do you stop at the top 10? Do you stop at certain?
And that's where my cultural relevance argument is coming in.
Now, before we get into that, I guess we should decide whether it's even a category that deserves to exist or not. Because I'm going to say it doesn't deserve to exist, and here's why. A, they've already tried this, and it was absolutely rejected by the fans of not only the Academy Award ceremonies, which I don't know. Well, okay, actually, I do know a few Academy heads, Oscar stands that get really hyped when it rolls around, and that's fine. I'm not going to like yuck anybody's yum, as the children would say. I think award shows are dumb, so I'm not going to pretend that I have a lot of love for the Oscars, but I'm also not going to pretend that they don't matter to our industry. So it is important that they are somewhat representative, okay? And I do understand that there is a problem that the Oscars has with nominating anything but your straight-laced drama, maybe your occasional comedy or genre film, but very, very generally, there's a whole host of categories of film that just don't get to have their place in the sunshine. And that is part of what this category would hope to address, is can we finally let some of those more populist, genre-driven movies into the Oscars?
Yeah.
And here's my thing with that. Yes, we should, but it should only be because the Academy fucking loosens their tie a little bit.
As
you know
adapted,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like it should only be because the Academy takes the stick at least a few inches out of their ass. Doesn't have to completely remove it from the ass, but should take it just a few, just like a few of the nodules, where like the branches would offshoot, and it probably hurts inside the rectum. All I'm saying is just if you're an Academy member, and it's not going to happen because most of them are sad olds, but I'm kind of like becoming a sad old, and like I can imagine letting Blackberry in, or letting, I don't know, like some kind of genre picture that's like a little bit off the beaten path that's also good. Now, Blackberry's a bad example because it's a kind of an indie darling, but okay, so I guess this question opens up a can of worms, Steve, because there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. As Matt alluded to earlier, there is a question of what you think of as a blockbuster, but I think that we can probably eschew, in the spirit of this question, the things that were like little indie darlings or celebrated festival things. Like, for instance, I had Skinamarink, right, on my top 10 best of the year. And part of the reason I included that movie instead of like American Fiction, which I hadn't seen at the point, so actually if I had made my list today, I would have included American Fiction on it, and I would have told past lives to get the fuck. That's just me. But part of the reason I included a movie like that is because there is a part of me that thinks to myself, well, if I was in a position to actually award things, I would like to award things in a different way than the Oscars does.
Well, yeah, and I think that's part of why I'm doing the exercise of what this award would be if it was considered, is because I don't think that there's an answer to it. To your point, I think in my mind, the Best Picture winner would be representative of that year in the best way. There's no real possibility of making an award that's like best pop culture movie or most popular movie, stuff like that. It has to be still the Best Picture. And the only way it can do that is that if the Academy adapts and awards these movies that are both really well done and two, really representative of what is happening in the current realm.
And look, the Academy wants the award ceremony to be representative of films that have this deeper meaning or a deep meaning or any kind of meaning. And I would argue that a movie doesn't have to mean anything. It can just be a great genre exercise, or it can be just capital entertainment, as the old dandies in England might say.
Capital entertainment. Fuck it.
Fuck it. See, this is now we're getting back into Scottish.
The last episode, yeah,
that was. And by the way, we're sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Was,
I'm so sorry for that whole segment at the end of that last episode. We were pretty smashed, and that was not good. No, but anyways, I think that the way they loosen their standards, the way that there can be a slackening of the standards, as it were. Well, first of all, it shouldn't be looked at that way because that's pretty fucking elitist and dumb. Just because a movie is higher on its entertainment value than it is on perhaps its subtext or its deeper meaning, doesn't mean that it doesn't achieve what it's meant to achieve. So maybe that's how, if I'm an Academy voter, maybe that's how I change the way I behave, is I don't think of, is this movie so full of deep meaning? Is this movie contributing to the cultural conversation in this really important emotional way or rhetorical way? Because that seems to be the way that they select their films now. And don't get me wrong, I love a drama that's got a lot of metaphor and things like that. And I frankly agree with the Academy in a lot of ways. I do think that like the most impactful movies are ones where it's something that you have to kind of unpack and that kind of reveals itself to you over time or over repeat watches or is, where the message is there, but you're not being beaten over the head with it, where if you have to put two and two together, you are made to think outside the box. That is a rewarding and enjoyable experience. and not a frustrating one. But all that being said, if they release like the fucking best kung fu movie of all time next year, or, you know, a lot of people would say Godzilla -1 was like one of the best monster movies that they've seen in a long time. I haven't seen it. But so I guess maybe the rubric should be for the Academy. Look, because they have already expanded the number of Best Picture entrants. So maybe reserve some of those in your intellectual space for movies that just achieve that what they mean to achieve.
Well, and you can argue that even though they've expanded it to 10, and there has been an animated films deal with this all the time. I think Toy Story 3 was the last animated film to be considered Best Picture. I think there's still a separate, and when I bring this up, there's still a separation of, to them, what is Best Picture worthy. But is there any reason why, let's say, any of the Spider-Verse movies shouldn't have been in the Best Picture race those years?
Even I'll make it even more lowbrow. Let's say that, like, now, and I actually don't agree with the statement I'm about to make, but let's say that like John Wick 4 was one of the best action movies in a decade. Okay, let's pretend that it was. Why can't you nominate that?
Yeah, even if it's not going to win, why not nominate it?
Or why can't it win? I mean, because I guess the question that the Academy should ask itself is, which movie succeeds on its own terms the best? And, you know, I guess that's where we get into the weeds, though, because the Academy has decided that, so like comedy is just not as meaningful as drama, and a musical is not as meaningful as whatever, or an animated film. I do think that there needs to be a different way that the Best Picture category is considered. And I think part of that involves, maybe, is there a movie that is the best representative of the thing that it's trying to do? Unless what it's trying to do is be fucking, you know, Nazi propaganda or something. Maybe there needs to be a reconsideration of like what counts as a Best Picture. And maybe, to Dee's question, there should be some element of populism wrapped up into some of that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't often reserve space for your past lives, your All of Us Strangers, etc. But I do think that because it's such an expanded category now, why not make it a diverse category?
I think they're starting to do that, at least with foreign films. I think like Parasite with Zone of Interest, I think they're proving what you're preaching. They're proving that concept that they can expand, or they can save some slots for those
right. But
those
they're
subgenres.
still
But they're still behind.
They're still dramas they're still mostly dramas, and they're still heavy on subtext, heavy on metaphor, heavy on so-called deeper meaning. Yeah, I think that you can. You know, I hate to call like a movie like The Dark Knight shallow, but certainly it is compared to like The Zone of Interest or whatever. Actually, an interesting way into this, and this was what I was looking for at the beginning of the segment, would be to discuss when they scrapped this category to begin with in 2019. So in 2019, the Academy proposed a new category called Popular Oscar.
Oh, it was because of Black Panther, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and I've got an article from the LA Times here. It's pretty good. So I'll just go into that just very briefly. The most unpopular move the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences may have ever made was reversed on Thursday. The next Academy Awards will not add a category for achievement in, quote, popular films after all. But the concept may not be completely dead. There have been a wide range of reactions to the introduction of a new award, and we recognize the need for further discussion with our members, Don Hudson, the Academy Chief Executive, said in a statement. The creation of the category, announced last month and rooted in an attempt to increase ratings for the Oscar telecast, prompted swift and severe blowback from the public and some members of the Academy. In rushing out the news, the Academy did not provide details about what would constitute a, quote, popular film, further inflaming the situation, which is kind of what we're alluding to here. Now, I just want to add on this last thing because it's really funny. Much of the furor centered on Black Panther, the smash superhero film credited with shattering a Hollywood myth about the overseas box office potential of movies focused on black characters. Many people see Black Panther as a legitimate Best Picture contender. What if it received a nomination for the populist Oscar, but not for the Best Overall Picture? Would that mean Black Panther and films like it were second-class citizens? Now, this is hilarious to me. Although some producers publicly supported the Academy, stars like Rob Lowe declared it nothing less than the end.
Stars like Rob Lowe.
Stars like Rob Lowe declared it nothing less than the end of the movie business.
Let's just dissect this before. Let's dissect that sentence before. So,
Robert.
So this
Oh, Bobby.
So this came out, and I'm sure there was some people that had a reaction. They were looking for somebody that was of popular name, and they found that no big stars responded to this, and so Rob Lowe was probably the highest tier, and they're like, let's use that quote.
To be fair, many of the more famous members of the Academy did reject this, including Laura Dern and Steven Spielberg and people like that. Now, and the thing is, it's not that I think they're wrong. I'm with Rob in that I don't think it should be a category, but to say that it's the end of the movie business, it's like, Rob, come on. We've had the People's Choice Awards for the last 3 decades. Yeah. They went away, yes.
You've probably been slimed on the Nickelodeon Awards. You're fine.
This article goes on to talk about that, so people were reacting with like, why not just have a Best Kiss Award? It's like, no. Having a most populist category wouldn't necessarily mean that you're going to turn into the fucking MTV Movie Awards. Mm-hmm. However, where I do side with old Steven Spiels and Bobby Lowe is that I do see this as potentially shoehorning stuff that should be legitimately considered for Best Picture material, like Black Panther, maybe one might argue. And I don't remember if it actually made the Best Picture nominees list that year. I think it may have.
I think it did. I'll look it up while you continue.
But I guess I do think the problem, and part of the problem, D, is that if you do create this category, I could see it being...
It was.
Okay. I could see it being a place where they silo movies that should just be considered Best Picture material anyway, if the Academy could just get the stick out of their ass. So I could see them going like, well, that Beekeeper, it sure was the best action movie about beating up telemarketers I've ever seen, but it's never going to be as important as All of Us Strangers, so we're just gonna put it in the populist category, even though I'm joking. Beekeeper wouldn't fucking make it. But so let's say John Wick 5 is a fucking true masterpiece, but it's like very silly, because those movies are silly.
Yeah.
But maybe it's done it better than any other attempt that's ever done it. Why not carve out a space for that to be potentially Best Picture? I say that while also being a full supporter of somebody like Marty Scorsese, and I hate when people call him Marty and don't know him, but I just did it. I say that as somebody who's in full support of like a Martin Scorsese who goes out there and says like the Marvel films are just roller coaster rides. And I kind of agree with him on that. But you know what? At the same time, if it's like the best roller coaster you've ever fucking been on,
why not award it?
Why not put it in the category at least and then let the Academy decide?
Well, and push come to shove, they're not going to decide on that. They're not going to choose it, but
it'll
you can still honor it.
It will be ceremonial. Put it up there. And frankly, that's the problem with award shows in general, is that it's all just ceremonial pomp and circumstance. And with the Academy Awards, it's not even based on what's the best. It's based on ranked choice voting.
Also, how many times has there been an award given to somebody who's been owed an award but got it for the wrong role or movie? But they've been nominated so many times that they just were given the award.
Speaking of Martin Scorsese,
exactly. So it's if we're just going to be fraught with these awards and just give them off whenever we feel like it because they're owed it or they've been nominated so many times, what's the problem with nominating a movie like that and representing that year in a good way, knowing it won't win?
Right.
They're so uptight and so protective of the process when they want to be, but so freewheeling with it when they choose that they want to be.
And that's why I'm going to say no, D, because while I do think that there are movies that might get some love that might not otherwise in that category, I also think they could easily shoehorn a lot of contenders that should just be considered for the Best Picture, even though they didn't have the emotional gravity of a Killers of the Flower Moon or whatever. And maybe there should be a higher barrier to entry for drama films as well. Maybe it should be harder. Maybe Maestro should really have something to say before being nominated for that. Maybe and frankly, like that's maybe like there should be a little bit more transparency about what movies. And again, I do wrinkle at this idea because I do think that nobody makes a movie just to try and win an Oscar. Maybe some
Bradley Cooper.
Maybe some actors, a la Bradley Cooper, take a role and like really pimp their product in the way they do to try to get an Oscar. But I think that obviously movies are a collaborative process. It's not fair to say any particular movie just exists to win an award. But I do think, that being said, maybe there should be more transparency about, hey, why does this movie really exist? What is it really doing for us? Yeah, it's a prestige picture. Yeah, it costs a lot of money. But is it really contributing to society or the conversation or culture or art or whatever? Is it really doing those things more than, say, a John Wick 5 or, or whatever? I don't know. So what would be the example from this? I mean, could you say that Barbie... Do you think that if there wasn't an expanded Best Picture category, that Barbie would have even landed in there? If this category existed, do you think that Barbie would have ever gotten nominated for Best Picture? Do you think it would have just been a Best Populist contender and not a Best Picture contender?
I think it would. See, this is a good point, because it brings up a hole in this logic, in that if there is a populist category, the Academy can use this to the benefit to poke holes or find loopholes to nominate a movie that should probably be in Best Picture, and just say, we won't put it in Best Picture, but we'll put it in Most Populous, and vice versa.
Of course, the flip side argument to that the people who would support this are going to say, well, but Barbie probably would have won an Oscar that year then, because it would have won Best Popular.
Sure, but then we're just handing out awards to hand out awards.
Right, and again, it just kind of feels like it comes down to box office at the point. And you also have to remember that the Academy Awards are still awards that have serious rules. They have serious voting problems. Movies are campaigned for.
It's a thing where there's a lot. It's like with any sports, and we talk about sports rules need to change, or the sport needs to evolve. This seems like instead of addressing the real issue, we're just going to add another award to kind of try and fix the issue.
Right.
And the real issue is that the Academy needs to update itself, needs to adapt, and needs to
slide that stick right out and get some KY
slide
and pull it out, man.
That branch stick.
All that being said, I don't think that the category should exist, but I do still find it deeply funny and silly that somebody like Rob Lowe is worried that they're going to have like the best fucking vomit scene and like the Oscars, like that it's going to devolve into that because they have like one category that dares to honor like a movie that a bunch of 14-year-olds liked, and like that's silly.
He's an artiste.
That's very gatekeepy shit, like, and don't get me wrong. Like, look, if you ask me what I liked when I was fucking 15-year-old, when my favorite movie was, I'd probably be like, oh, Blade 2 or whatever, which is like,
Blade 2 is not bad.
Or maybe it's not. It's great. But I'm just saying, like,
what year do you think Blade 2 came out?
I'm going to say 2004.
I was going to say 24 too. 2004.
Are we really doing this?
Yeah, 2002.
Okay. Well,
2 years off. Okay.
I guess I don't feel like that movie exists in the wake of 9/11 enough. That's how I view all the movies from the early aughts, is like how 9/11 pilled were they?
Pre 9/11, post 9/11.
I guess what I'm saying is like, yeah, if you asked me when I was a kid, like what my favorite shit was, yeah, I would have said some like CGI monstrosity. And then, as I got a little older, maybe I would have said something like kind of outlandishly pretentious, but really not as good as it thinks it is, like, Requiem for a Dream or something. And then like
the amount of times I watched Batman Forever when I was like 11.
It doesn't make you, I don't think you're wrong to be like a 14-year-old that likes Blade 2 or whatever. I wasn't 14. I was probably much older than that. I don't know what I would have said when I was 14. But I'm just saying, it's like, like The Crow or whatever. Like, who fucking knows? But I'm just saying, like, let's lower our standards, Academy. Let's or not lower our standards. That's too
be real.
Pejorative.
Let's just be real.
Let's expand our standards. How about that? Not lower them, expand them. I don't know. Anything else on this one? I mean, I appreciate the question because it lends itself to how can we get these guys to honor shit that's not getting honored?
Well, yeah, I think it pokes the obvious holes that are in the Academy's process of dictating what is a Best Picture. Right. I think that's the crux of this whole problem, is that what's usually nominated, let alone win, just nominated, is not. Yeah. It's slowly becoming even, and they're opening the gates to other genres and stuff, and that represent movie going and what people like, but it's taking too long. And
maybe the answer to this question is there needs to be a better award show.
Well, that's what the Globes thought they were.
No, but the Globes have always been Hollywood foreign press. But it's always been Hollywood foreign press shit. It's never been like an actual people that love movies making that.
No, it's a bunch of people that wanted to be popular and they just made up a fucking group.
So I'm saying like a better award show made by maybe like some filmmakers across genres.
Just don't have award shows. Just have awards.
I agree, but
just say here's the award. Here's who won. This is it. We released it in the LA Times.
Well, that's never gonna happen. But I'm just saying, maybe there needs like a coalition of like filmmakers across genre, highbrow and lowbrow need to come together and like create the Roger Corman Awards or something.
The Mick G Award. What's the last Mick G movie you remember?
Well, the only one I can think of is the fucking Charlie's Angels shit. I know that he's done a lot of harm. Didn't he do Doom?
He did Family Switch. Did The Babysitter, Killer Queen.
Oh, God.
Rim of the World. What is that?
It's about competitive rimming.
He did The Babysitter remake, yes.
The Babysitter?
Yeah.
The fuck is
3
that?
Days to Kill. Is that the Russell Crowe movie?
Oh, God.
No, Kevin Costner. This Means War. Oh, man. Terminator Salvation. We Are Marshall. Okay, I'm done.
Well, wait. Who am I thinking of that did the Dungeons and Dragons movie? Not the recent one, but the one with Ben Kingsley.
I don't know, but I heard the recent one's not bad.
Yeah, I've heard that one's fun, but now I gotta. Oh no, it was Blood Rain. Yeah, Ben Kingsley was in an early aughts Blood Rain movie, with like Michelle Rodriguez and Udo Kier or some shit. That guy's a special filmmaker.
Courtney Solomon?
No, fuck. There's a filmmaker that I've been wanting to like pull out every time this conversation comes up, and I can't remember his name.
The Mick G Awards?
No, he's like a German guy, and God, it'll come to me.
No, I know, but like that subgenre of directors that I would say Mick G represents.
God, but those two guys are just Uwe Boll. That's who I was thinking of course. Oh, God, man, he just continued to work in the 2000s.
They work and they keep working. And
honestly, I'm starting to think that we need to put Snyder in this category.
He's getting there because I feel like after Rebel Moon, it's going to dwindle down because they're not going to give him money anymore.
Okay, well let's move on. Let's move on from this question. Thank you, D. Thoughtful question.
Thanks, D.
And check out D's show,
Courageous Eater
on the Grams. Where do you find
the YouTubes?
Okay. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay,
you
good.
acted like you didn't know what YouTube was.
No, I'm saying I don't know where the fuck to find anything.
It's on the YouTubes and the Instagrams.
Great, the tubes and the Grams.
It might be on TikTok. I don't know if it is.
All right.
A comedian at the Oscars, the saddest man of all. Your movies may make millions, but your name they'll never call. I guess you don't like laughter, and a smile brings you down. A comedian at the Oscars is the saddest, bitterest, alcoholic clown.
Jack Black! Will Ferrell! What did you think when you took off your pants and you ran around that racetrack and you did that silly dance? What did you think?
I thought they'd love me.
What did you think that you could change their wicked game? Did you think when you made Anchorman they wouldn't call it lame? What did you think?
I thought I'd get to have dinner with Jeremy Irons.
All right. Well, over the break.
I knew you were going to go into this.
Well, I have to. I feel partly responsible.
I was gonna say you're not responsible.
Well, maybe it's the power of my whiskey sours. They are quite potent. But we did take ourselves a little break to top up, as it were, and this is like one of those very special episodes of Touched by an Angel or whatever. But Matt Frank almost died.
I fell down the stairs.
He fell downstairs like an old. Like me.
I did. It was a very sad falling down the stairs. I didn't roll, but I slipped and I fell back.
Right. Not even a scary fall. This is what's sad is that this happens to me almost twice a month. And, it's not great. But Matt was like sweating afterwards because this never happens to him because he's like fleet-footed.
It was one of those
plays basketball and shit.
It was one of those that hit like it bruised so prominently or hit like very severely that it's one of those where you're just writhing in pain for a little bit.
You're rocking back and forth like the lady that fell out of the wine crusher, that meme.
Yeah, it's not that you're in. It's not that it's so painful that you can't. It's It's like getting a Smartie.
It's prominent.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that's why the sweat came out. So I had to sit outside for like 2 minutes.
We're glad that you pulled
while
through.
you made another cocktail. What did you make this time?
It's just a mule. I forwent the traditional copper mule cup because, you know what? As I've learned over the years, not great for microphone. Anyway, let's move on to the second of the two ways that we try to adjudicate the discourse as it pertains to cinema, and that is by unpacking the ideas and assertions that we stumble across out there in the media, be it social or otherwise. And this is kind of going to be a way that we dip our toe into a much bigger conversation. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, this episode may sound really, really dated in like not only like 5 years and like 3 months. And you'll understand why in a second. But this is a post from a person who I would argue is deluded. And it's not a take that I agree with. And I'm not also unconvinced that it isn't some like blue check mark, look at me, Elon kind of statement. So
it might be.
It could be. So I don't know. But either way, in keeping with our policy, because we're going to shit on this, we're not going to name the source. And just to remind, that's not because we're opposed to shaming, but rather we do not want to expose any more of this person's ideas to the world than we already feel compelled to. But this is a post from a gentleman who says, via a post on X, movie watching experience. 2005, go to a movie theater. 2015, stream Netflix. 2025, ask LLM plus text to video to create a new season of Narcos to watch tonight. But have it take place in Syria with Brad Pitt, Mr. Beast, and Travis Kelce in the leading roles. This is the future, Matthew. This is the future.
Is it though?
No, it's not. No, it's really not.
What year did you say the last one was?
2025. So next year.
So next year.
So he's prepared next year. First, okay. There's just so many ways to attack this. And this could turn into a very lengthy conversation. We already had a very lengthy conversation. So let's just try and keep it simple. There is an AI problem in Hollywood.
Yes.
It has led to a number of strikes, along with other things, including being treated like fucking sheep by the fucking worst people that should ever own a fucking studio. AI is a big hot button issue. It's had a lot to do with the recent strikes in the writers, the recent strikes with directors. Not so much. You guys kind of dropped the ball. And there's now an IATSE strike. There was an actor strike. You know, with actors, it was, hey, don't use AI digital replicas of us. With writers, it was like, hey, don't use ChatGPT to write fucking Punch Up for Adult Sheldon Part 5.
They're doing, I think they're doing a teen adult
know. I fucking know. Basically, the technology is progressing very quickly in the AI space, as it was always anticipated it would be. This spells for a lot of people potential existential doom for the industry. And this is a person who is embracing that whole hog. And again, you know, it's very possible that it's because they're like an Elon stan. I'm going to read the tweet, and it's a tweet, not a fucking X. Who fucking calls it that? Movie watching experience. 2005, go to the theater. 2015, stream Netflix. 2025, ask LLM, which stands for large language modeling. 2025, ask LLM and text to video to create a new season of Narcos to watch tonight, but have it take place in Syria with Brad Pitt, Mr. Beast, and Travis Kelce in the leading roles. Oh, boy.
Awful. This is like off the heels of all the B-roll, like, what was it, Sora? What's
so there are a number of, Sora is the big one, but there are a number of Mid-Journey, things like this.
So they see one B-roll clip that kind of looks decent, and they're like, oh, they're making movies with it now in a year.
Okay,
like,
let's extrapolate on what will happen. AI will get better. AI will get so good that it is capable of maybe doing something kind of like what this gentleman is describing.
But not anytime soon.
Well, first of all, let's just take this guy's tweet for face value. 2005, go to a movie theater. 2015, stream Netflix. Already, you lost me. Because here's the thing. I was still going to the fucking movies in 2015.
Netflix wasn't doing movies.
No, they were.
Like-
They were doing their own original content. It
Original
wasn't
content, but they weren't doing movies until a couple years ago.
No, they. I think that when was Soma? Was that 2017?
Selma wasn't in Netflix.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, Roma, not Soma. What the fuck is Soma?
Roma was like 2 years ago.
No, it was not 2 years ago. It was pre-pandemic. Joseph.
Oh yeah, it was 2008. 2018? Roma was 2018?
Anyway, all I'm saying is they've been doing their own original content for. They were doing it around then. But all I'm saying is you've already drawn a line between actual movie going and some other service. So this is already, just taking this tweet at face value, it's already somebody who's not interested in the theater experience to begin with. They're always looking for the next thing that's not the theater. I would argue that this person's not actually interested in movies. They're just interested in the latest fucking thing. And by the way, it's not going to stop with generative AI. And for people who don't know what we're talking about, there are plenty of services out there that are working very diligently on creating what is known as generative AI. What is generative AI? Generative AI is basically what it sounds like. You give an AI a prompt, and it generates something based on that prompt. The delightful Willy Wonka experience that we talked about in the last episode, which is a segment that I'm sure everybody loves, was a generative AI prompt that some dick douche put into a fucking machine and said, hey, give me a Willy Wonka sequel. And it was like, oh, Mr. Nobody or whatever.
Mr. Unknown.
Yeah, whatever. That's what generative AI is. Now, look, right now it sucks. No matter how much the blue check shitholes try to go like, oh, actually it's pretty sophisticated. No, it still sucks. Mm-hmm. And anytime a fucking article is written by ChatGPT or whatever the fucking generative service is, it's as obvious as a fucking arrow sticking out of somebody's brain. So the technology is not there. And I don't think it will be there by 2025.
No.
That being said, what this person is talking about isn't the movies. It's basically playing with your action figures, isn't it? Because look, he's talking about 3 or 4 properties that exist already. They were designed, they were created by a human being. So Narcos was a creation by a human being. No, okay, it's based on real events, but it's a series that he already liked, right? Mm-hmm. That was created. There's nothing in this tweet about the creation process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What about the AI in its current state makes this gentleman or anybody think
they can make a whole series or a story
that they can create? They can create a story that's going to resonate the same way that a Narcos does. Well, let me ask you, Matthew Frank, is there any show that you like, Mr. Frank?
Some.
Some? Is there any? Just think of like one.
Yes.
Can you think of one show that you like?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay? Is it okay to name it?
Yeah. The
Okay,
Bear.
The Bear. Okay, you like The Bear. Why do you like The Bear? It doesn't have to. Don't overthink it. Why do you like The Bear?
actors are good.
Okay, the actor's good. What do you like? What do you like about an actor? What makes you think an actor's good?
Their range and their delivery of lines and their emotion.
Okay, fine. Already, you've named 3 or 4 things that a machine can't
do.
decipher. So I'll take Narcos as an actual example. I was interested in watching Narcos. I'm interested because I think that the fucking drug trade shit that happened in Colombia was really interesting. And I think the story of Pablo Escobar is really compelling. And I thought that maybe that would make for interesting human drama. That's the fucking key word here. Human drama. Now, machines will get very good. They will get very good at deciphering what that means. But there will always be an uncanny valley. Always. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean that machines won't eventually get so good that they can just predict everything you want to see. Maybe you will have your own personal AI, a la Lucy or whatever the fucking, the guy that gets cucked by his computer starring Joaquin Phoenix.
Her?
Yeah, so like maybe you will have your own digital assistant a la her that will eventually just anticipate your every need and can just generate like whatever they think you want to see. But that's not what movies are. Movies are fucking being on one side of a conversation. Somebody is feeding you a story. You don't have input. So it's kind of like that fucking black pill thing. Or not black pill. Is it black pill? Black Box. It's like
Box.
that Black Box thing where they tried to do the thing where it's like choose your own adventure via like the chapters.
The Netflix thing.
Yeah,
with
Netflix.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. But even then, even if it's like a choose your own adventure, you're just choosing turn left or right.
Yeah.
You're not choosing outcomes. All this amounts to me is I want He-Man to fight the Terminator.
Well, yeah,
And I
and-
want to see what that would look like. Yay!
Well, AI can't discern human emotion, but also relatability to those emotions. So part of why you watch movies or TV shows and like a certain movie or TV show is because sometimes, and most times, the characters in those stories emit emotions or go through scenarios that you are familiar with, or that you can sympathize with or empathize with. That's really hard for any AI service right now to comprehend or to churn out.
Sure. But even when they get to that point where they can predict what human empathy is modeled like, it doesn't mean that they will be able to weave meaning out of that. So
Yeah.
I fully believe that AI will be sophisticated, and to this gentleman's credit, sophisticated enough soon where it will be able to be like, this will really get them. This will make people cry. Like, I think AI may actually be able to figure that out. But that's not the same as creating interesting stories that people latch onto. So, okay, I hear this like with like Pixar all the time, and it's actually thought it's in the pejorative sense. People often talk about modern Pixar movies, which don't have a great track record,
No.
as being emotionally manipulative. And they use that in a negative sense. Now, I'm not saying that they all are. I think some of them are good, some of them are not. That's all that is. It's emotional manipulation. It's not the same as creating something. And if anything, a Pixar movie might be emotionally manipulative. Maybe its goal is to try to make you feel before you think. There's still some element of creativity, some human endeavor in there that may be ineffable or may just be harder to quantify than these people give it credit for, but it really is. And again, this is why I think this conversation is going to age badly, because our fucking robot overlords may hear this one day and just fucking decide to poke me with hot skewers. But until that happens, I don't buy that the lights are on inside of AI and that they can figure out the actual compelling drama or the actual compelling, nuance and details that, you know, one of my favorite podcasts, which I've already given way too much lip service, the thing that they do is they examine the little moments of a movie. And that, I love that premise, because that is where a movie lives and breathes. It's in the little moments. It's in the little mistakes. So let's say that AI knows how to make a movie and make it look perfect. Do they know how to make it flawed enough to be relatable? For people that are just interested in like seeing like what it would look like if the Predator had a My Little Pony to ride around on, AI will probably be able to do that pretty well.
Well, and
But it's not going to create the Predator, you know, or at least I'd wager for now not one that you'd give a shit about.
that brings up something interesting. If, let's say, each studio, there's a future where each studio has the capability of and access to an AI that makes a perfect movie.
Sure.
And each of those, and they release their perfect movie. There's nothing different about each of those. The reason why there's competition, or there's even just movie going in an audience for these, is that, like what you said, movies are flawed. Movies are human stories. Movies have nuance. And even if it wins Best Picture, there's things you can point to where it's not a perfect film. But if each film is perfect because of AI, what are we looking at anymore? What are we watching anymore? What are we relating to?
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, I have no doubt. Well, actually, I do have doubts, because this is like a blue check fucking Elon stan probably. So like, this guy might be really into like the algorithm being able to create the perfect dopamine drip for you at any given time. Good for you, dude. But I don't buy that that's what most people want. Like, if all you need is just like the perfect little dopamine spike, we already have something for that. It's called fucking video games. And by the way, if we were going to extrapolate on this guy's tweet, 2025, go to a movie theater. 2015, stream Netflix. 2025, bunch of AI bullshit. Where can you go from that? Well, after that, it's like the fucking holodeck from Star Trek, right? Mm-hmm. It's like eventually things are going to like evolve into a space where you can interact with the media that you're ingesting. Okay, so maybe, you know, already we've got like the $8,000 wearable glasses from Apple or whatever. I could see a fucking future where I could see a not too distant future where we're all wearing augmented wearables, and ingesting content like that. The difference is that's an active engagement with a thing, and it's not. You're an active participant in that. It's a two-sided conversation there. A movie or a book or music or a piece of art, it's a one-sided conversation from one creator or several creators to you. You are not an active participant in that. Other than that, you're engaging with it, however you're watching it or ingesting it or listening to it or whatever it is. But you're on the other side of a conversation that you don't have control over. That's the difference between what this guy's talking about and what we're talking about when we talk about fucking art. And I realize it's pretentious to sound like it's a pretentious thing to say when you call these things art. What we're dealing with now is what this gentleman's talking about, and what we're talking about is art versus playing with your fucking action figures. And hey, I loved pitting up my Tyrannosaurus Rex against the fucking, I don't know, the fucking...
Keep going.
I don't know. Who else did I have?
Who did you fight?
Mickey Mouse. Fucking, I don't know. When I was a kid, I loved to fantasize what it would be like if the fucking Terminator shot up a gummy bears.
Doesn't mean from an outside perspective it would be even remotely enjoyable.
No one
or
would
make
pay
sense.
to watch me. No one would pay to watch me take my Jurassic Park figures and have them do a crossover with my Ghostbusters figures.
And I think that, I think there's an interesting thing here where I think this tweet misinterprets what a film goer enjoys. I think this assumes that somebody wants to just see what they enjoy.
Right.
But part of the experience of watching movies and enjoying movies, or the movie culture itself, is enjoying it amongst others and enjoying it with an audience.
But also, along your same line of thinking there, it's being exposed to ideas that you never thought you could have had before.
But you can't have that if you're just
if it's
regurgitating your own ideas within your own house.
And that's the key word is regurgitation. So if I'm using LLM and text to video to create a new season of Narcos, well, fine. It's a new season of a thing that was already created.
But you're also watching this new thing and nobody else has seen it. So who are you going to go fucking talk to?
Whatever. But I guess, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. The notion that like you now have this ability to just simply, just create your own entertainment. Well, you have that already. It's called your fucking imagination. So if you're saying that there's going to be some really interesting way of like seeing your imagination more vividly than you can already see it in your brain, kudos, dude. Yeah, you're going to have that ability. If I really want to see what it looks like when an alien with 8 dicks has his way with 20 grandmas, I can do.
I'm getting a real wide open path into your brain right now.
Sometimes.
Yeah, paint this picture.
I'm feeling randy, and I just want to.
Are you the alien right now? Where do you go to wrangle these grandmas?
And I just want to feel. I just want to get. I'm all horned up, I just want to see something that I can't usually see,
How many senior citizen homes do you need to go to on a daily basis?
I've seen stepsister porn. I'm not interested in that anymore. I've had enough of that. But I could use a little bit of alien porn and maybe get some grandmas in there. Get 20.
Well, with this AI, you can create that for yourself.
Create it now in mine.
So maybe that's it. Maybe this is like it. Maybe that's why I'm so averse to this. Is it feels slightly pornographic.
Well, and we're not even getting into we absolutely are not going to get into or don't have to get into.
Why not?
But this opens so much weird realms of entertainment.
Rule 27 shit. Yeah, well, okay. Obviously, the technology always extends to porn first, but I'm just saying, like, this doesn't feel any more creative than that. It's just rule. Is it Rule 24 or Rule 27? No, Rule 34. Rule 34. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's the notion that anything that you can imagine they've made a porno out of.
So it's like the Kevin Bacon rule, but of porn.
Like if you can imagine pterodactyl porn, there's pterodactyl porn for sure. So anyway, but my point is, this feels like that, but for your pop culture shit. It's just, and there's an interesting thing to that. And I could see, by the way, I'm not so anti-AI that I think that like we should just live in. I'm not like a Luddite that thinks that we should just go back to fucking Stone Ages and like everything should just be shot on celluloid. Tools are going to change. So for instance, there's a movie that's a festival darling right now called Late Night with the Devil. It's getting a lot of fucking love. David Dashelman from the Suicide Squad movies.
Every Nolan film.
In every fucking, he's the star. And it's got crazy, I think it's South by Southwest. It's like got crazy buzz right now. They recently got into a bit of controversy because they did like they're doing like their marketing campaign for it. And they clearly leaned on some AI art, some stills for some AI art. And listen, I think that that's stupid because you could easily have paid some fucking guy in Fiverr to do a better job. And it was very clearly AI art, and it was used for like promo purposes. I don't know if it's actually in the film or not. The movie's catching flack for that, and I think rightfully so. But there are a lot of people who are saying like, "Well, now I'm going to boycott the movie." I think that's a step too far. If only because AI is not going away. It's going to be a tool that people lean on. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, robots shouldn't be taking jobs from humans. And that's a job that anyone could have done probably more cheaply than the subscription that they use to fucking Midjourney. Those are jobs that should go to humans, even if you want to lowball those humans, which frankly the heads of these studios are going to do anyway. The thing is, though, I'm not willing to pretend that like AI tools aren't coming and that they aren't going to be utilized. Listen, rotoscoping, for instance, is a technique that is used by VFX houses.
It's the common thing.
To add backgrounds to I don't know, a scene that might have been shot in the park, but they want to make it look like it's World War II or whatever,
Yeah.
Or motion tracking is a thing that is...
I mean, you can even say green screen at that point.
Green screen. So there are lots of things that would have been considered fucking visual magic tricks back in the day that are now relegated to VFX houses. And a lot of that stuff is going to be taken up by AI. And I'm not going to pretend that like it's a bad thing that you don't need 20 underpaid guys rendering one scene over and over with a rotoscoping program to put a background into a scene and be able to do it decently, at least for previs purposes. And we're getting a little into the weeds with like industry stuff, but
yeah,
I don't think that there's no use for these tools, but to just think about just generating whatever the fuck you want at any whim, you're not open to new ideas. I guess that's my thing with this.
Yeah,
this is just. I guess my biggest gripe with this tweet would be that he starts with going to the movie theater and then ends up on create your own adventure with AI, as if the two had anything to do with each other. That's my biggest gripe.
He's trying to make a point of something without understanding the method that he's making the point with.
Without even understanding the medium he's talking about. That's what
I mean.
One is a thing that washes over you that you either learn from or get something out of and are not an active participant in. The other is cosplay, masturbation. Essentially. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any... I feel like I've been dominating this conversation.
It just feels like very, very reactionary and very like making a big deal out of something that isn't there. Like my first response was, this is something that very much AI could get to, but it's not going to get to in a very long time for multiple reasons that we've covered. And it's very much I'm trying to stoke the flames of this AI battle or this corporate conversation that's happening. It has nothing to do with the actual movie going or the experience or understanding that. It's just to kind of rile up social media for whatever reason.
We only chose this because it's got 33,000 likes and the person that posted it has close to 100,000 followers. And so because of that, I just wanted to bounce a few things. So in this case, I have no problem punching because we're now punching up. I want to bounce some things off you. In this case, it's some of the reactions to this.
Ooh,
some
interesting.
Of the Twitter reactions. So I wanted to get your reaction to some reactions. Okay,
we have not prepped for this, so I'm interested.
Okay, so the first response is a doozy. It's got a lot of likes. If your favorite show got canceled, you can just order up more episodes.
But it won't. Okay, I'm gonna give my fast responses to these things. But it won't
if I'm the guy saying this to you, pretend I'm this guy saying it to you.
But it won't be if
your favorite show got canceled, you can just order up more episodes.
But it won't be the same because the people that made it aren't the ones doing it.
Well, pretty easy to address that one. Next. Oh, this one is actually just funny. Some guy says, "No wonder Alexander wept when there were no more worlds to conquer." Dude, you're too pilled on whatever pill you've been pilled on. I don't even know how to respond.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't even know how to respond.
Okay, but you know his response to the guy who's with the Alexander quote was?
What?
Yeah, I can turn that scene into a movie too. Seriously, that's what the fucking guy said.
That's kind of funny.
It would be funny if you thought that it'd be funny if you thought he was actually.
Oh, he's very serious. I'm laughing because he's so serious about it.
Okay, let's see. Let's find some others. Because it's my fucking Twitter feed, it's a lot of like the people that I follow and how they would address it. You know, most of it's like you're an absolute fucking loser, a total freak. You know, which is like fair. But I'm trying to find the ones that are like, write me a final season of Lost that doesn't suck on the Vision Pro. Whoa.
But see, this is why this whole thing is an issue, is that these are a bunch of people that want a subjective product out of the things that they desire or find great.
Correct.
And that's fine, but they don't understand that the reason why they like those things is not because of an AI. It's because of people that made it and people that were human and flawed and wrote from their own experiences and past and personalities. And you're not going to just be able to regurgitate that, again, that word, through this AI system and recreate a on par version or even a better version. You're going to get a very subpar version every time.
Well, okay, yeah, and actually here, that's an interesting way to end this, because here's a tweet that I think that like spells what you're saying pretty well. New Breaking Bad and Sopranos episodes are going to use up all the available energy in the world. The thing is, whether you loved or hated the finales of those shows, whether you fucking think that they just stuck the landing on your favorite thing, if it was absolutely tailor-made to what you like, to what you absolutely thought it should be in your brain, it still wouldn't be enough, A, but B, it would be like the fucking episode of Seinfeld where he like is dating Jeanine Garofalo and determines that he hates her because she's too much like him. At the end of it, he literally goes, "I hate myself." I mean, movies, art, books, I know how it sounds when I going down this road, talking about these things like art, like the fucking...
I agree, though.
Well, I'm just saying, that stuff is meant to fucking bend your ear. It's meant to like...
be interpretations.
Yeah, and it's also meant to like show you something that maybe is outside your wheelhouse, is outside your fucking bag of tricks. And frankly, we're not talking about movies anymore.
It's not challenging you in the way that art does.
You'll learn nothing from a choose your own adventure if it's purely choose your own adventure. If it's just, you're just doodling, which is fine. Doodle and create your own shit. So maybe that's the value of this. Maybe you will be able to create some virtual shit that's so fucking compelling and cool that you can show it to the rest of us and we can all learn something from it. But until then, if you're just like creating new seasons of Narcos with Brad Pitt because you have no imagination and you can only conjure up 2 movie stars in your brain, that's not worthy of most people's time and attention.
Well, and the people that complain about this, I would argue, are those that don't have the imagination, don't see this as an art form, and just want what they want. And that's fine.
Sure.
Like you said, that's fine. You rewatch the same shows that you want over and over and over again. But if you want to challenge yourself, I don't think the population of moviegoers is going to be on par with this, because they want to be challenged. They want open interpretations. They want to view this art form as an art form.
Sometimes I use the phrase eating your vegetables when it comes to certain movies. What I mean by that is there are certain movies out there that can be a challenge to watch. Look, I'm not going to pretend like Elaine Dielman is like an easy movie to watch. It's like 4-hour movie of watching a woman literally sitting there doing nothing. I do think there's a lot of movies, especially historically, there are movies I just mentioned one, but like, or like the movies like Andrei Tarkovsky or Ingmar Bergman has some stuff in there, even though I think he's pretty entertaining. There are movies that like people that are not plot driven, that are very tonal and long and meditative.
Like you can argue Zone of Interest is like that, or any Glaser films.
Yeah.
Again, not to us. I'm saying to the normal like.
Well, I definitely for at least Zone of Interest, I could see that argument. I couldn't see that for like definitely not like Sexy Beast. But anyway, yeah, Zone of Interest could be considered that for some people, and that's fine. The thing is, though, there is a point in your life where you expand your horizons, I guess is what I would say. Mm-hmm. You grow up a little bit and you move through phases of your life. And I think that as you mature, you eventually, the things that you appreciate, if you're a thinking person, will change. Most people have, at least, if it's not art or if it's not movies, most people have in their lives something that eventually they learn the nuance of. Mm-hmm. So like maybe you're not an art person. Maybe you're real into cars. Okay, well, like maybe when you first got into cars, you thought the best car was a fucking muscle car, Camaro. And then as you fucking learn more about them, you're like, oh, actually, I think like I don't think vans are pretty cool. I don't fucking know. I'm not a car person. Your proclivities.
It's a garage full of vans.
Whatever. Like Ford Astros is my favorite thing. But I'm just saying, your tastes become refined. Eventually you may find yourself, if you love a thing enough, be it music, let's say it's music, maybe you get tired of listening to fucking, I don't know, Portuguese the Man or whatever, you know, like
Portugal
the Man. God damn, I'm so old. Maybe you listen to it.
Portuguese the Man.
There you go. There you go.
Boy.
We've gone too far afield from the actual. This should have been an easy thing to address. We've gone way too long on it. This is going to be an editing nightmare. But anyway.
Portuguese the Man.
Look, what do you want from me? It's only going to get worse. You think this is going to get better from here?
Listen, I fell downstairs today. I know it's not getting better.
Soon I'm going to be calling him like Billy Ocean or like, and it's like Billie Eilish, but I really mean
Franklin
I really
Ocean?
mean like Billie Eilish, but it's like Billy Ocean.
You have been getting extremely. You've been embracing the old lately. You got the High Life. You got the Jim Beam.
Oh, well, first of all, no.
You got several things.
We're not going to give the High Life to the old. In fact, you suggested that you liked PBR over High Life, and that's just a hipster move. That's just hipster bullshit.
PBR is better than High Life.
No, it's the same beer. It's the literal same beer. If you put PBR in a fucking High Life bottle, it would taste exactly the fucking same. Oh my God, Matthew. That fucking fall on that stairs broke your brain, bros. What are we even talking about anymore? Let's move on. Time for part 2.
A stranger on the internet. I imagine that it feels quite bad to send a photo of your cartoon while willing participants. I am just a computer with cooling vents. I guess my graphic card is my penis equivalent. So I guess that I feel a little sad.
I'm going to open the High Life. You know why?
Because you're living the High Life?
Well, you know, speaking of... Okay. I have to preface... So we're going to move on to our final segment. What is our final segment? Well, that's the number 3 way that we utilize in addressing the discourse. And that way is by occasionally subjecting ourselves to mysterious media oddities. I promise you, despite our last conversation about the great malt beer wars, this clip is apropos of nothing. It just happens to coincide with our previous discussion.
Interesting. I have not seen this, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
This one comes from me, and this we're just going to go through it as we usually do. We're gonna kind of give it our commentary first time around, and then we'll dissect it after this. But so here we go. I'll just let the cat out of the bag right now. This is an advertisement of sorts. What's the first thing you see before you start rolling on this?
I see a woman. I see a setting that clearly is the early 90s, if not mid 90s. And I see a woman
I think you're giving it too much credit. I think this might be mid 80s.
I see a woman and a man at a party. The man looks like Jason Alexander with hair, very young, and the woman is holding his cheek between one of her hands and giving a kissy face. I'm guessing this might be a New Year's party or something. I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's just go through this and we'll describe it as it's unveiling the first time. Get ready, because right off the bat, Pabst! So this is a bar.
Oh man, what's
Jason Alexander is
wearing a
getting
bow tie.
He's wearing a bow tie.
You can't find better than Pabst.
You can't find better than Pabst. Now there's guys in horrible English sweaters. Guys in
Is Jason Alexander the
Pabst
Pabst?
doesn't change. It's always good.
No, it definitely does change.
Okay.
Where did he go?
So that's it.
Wait, you go to the first frame because I don't know who Jason Alexander is in this and why she's squeezing his face.
That's really part of why I wanted to examine this, because there's nothing so crazy about this ad. Like, there's not like a what the fuck are we watching kind of thing, except the drama that is happening with Jason Alexander through this whole thing. And whatever it has to do with Pabst can't have anything to do with its quality. If anything, it's like girls will tease you and not fuck you if you drink Pabst. So let's go through it.
Yeah,
let's go through it.
Because I'm very confused by his presence.
Okay, so the first image is this woman appears to be flirting with Jason Alexander. She's squeezing his face.
I'm guessing he's bland in a way because of his dress.
What is he drinking? Is he drinking High Life?
So there's
already
a bunch of rugby stars.
Yeah, there's like a fucking
in.
rugby team working. Which this is an American bar. So what part of the country is this? Is this like Boston? This must be like Boston.
It has to be East Coast. Yeah, they love them there.
So
they keep fist pumping at each other.
They must have just won the match. Is that what we call a game of rugby? A match?
I think so.
Okay. Now there's a big.
Have you ever ordered a picture of Pabst?
I'm sure I have. If I was like faced with like Budweiser.
Have you ever
Pabst.
seen a Pabst pitcher?
Yeah, of course. You've never been to a dive bar before?
I guess I've never seen one. I've seen like Bud Light pitchers. I've never seen a Pabst pitcher.
Because that's what people are normal. I mean, this has the Pabst.
That's what I mean. A logo, a pitcher with the logo of Pabst.
I can't say I've seen. Well, I mean, it depends. You know, now we used to go to a lot of fucking hipstered out bars where like Pabst was like $6 a can. It's like, why? It's Pabst. It's like the whole thing about Pabst is it's supposed to be like the $3 can special paired up with, like we were talking about Boilermakers a couple episodes ago. I mean, like that's like a High Life and Pabst are like the perfect Boilermaker combos, right? Well, this is not how it's being presented here. This is a rugby favorite. It's just so
wait,
again,
so they came back to the squeezing face.
Yeah, again, she's squeezing his face. He's not
it's the
drinking,
same shot though.
He doesn't seem to be drinking Pabst, but
okay, so she blows him off. She squeezed the face and then she blows him off.
Give him a little chest pat. He's wearing a beautiful bow tie, and he's looking a little bit Ted Cruz here, which I don't,
or Tucker.
Ooh.
It's right here in this bottle.
Okay, so they cut away.
Do you recognize this guy, right?
I saw when he came up, I was like, that guy looks like somebody I recognize, but I couldn't put it on.
Isn't he in a bunch of fucking Edgar Wright movies? Who's this guy? I think he's the character actor.
I don't know. He looks very familiar though.
We're gonna post this, and we're gonna post the link to this in the show description. We want you guys to watch along because this guy, I think this guy might be something.
You can't find better than Pabst.
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna just reject right now
that premise.
You can't find better than Pabst?
Yes.
Man, maybe in 1984 or whatever.
Yeah, have you confirmed when this came out?
No, but this seems like late 80s to me, or very early 90s, but I mean, this is, anyway. Okay, so they're about to pour a big sweaty Pabst. Oh, fashion hats.
I love that. Yeah, she's wearing like an April O'Neil fedora, and this guy
has one of the worst sweaters. This makes me feel like early 90s because this is like early 90s was the time for bad.
But he's
sweaters.
He's also lowering his glasses like the fucking what was the SNL skit, the Schmitz Gay.
It was probably
commercial?
based on shit like this. Yeah.
So, but it's like, is he? So this means he's looking at the beer, going, by
Right,
him.
and he's got a perfectly attractive April O'Neil singing to his
1984, you got it.
left. Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. This makes me feel sad. Yeah, it's very Schlitzke. It's very, just the fashions happening. You guys have to...
Okay, so he's back.
So Jason Alexander, I guess he's
a salesman?
Maybe he's dissuade. So maybe he's
the
getting
bartender?
Well, because he's talking to this rugby player or whatever, and I think that he's like interjecting, like that's my woman or whatever.
But yeah, he's going back to the woman that squeezed his face twice and then went away from him.
So is he at the same place in the bar, or is he like, hey, don't talk to her? Like that's my prize.
The B story of this is he's just threatening other men.
What does it have to do with Pabst? And also, Jason Alexander, not a threat.
Oh, so she left him.
I guess. Okay, so now we're back to the rugby players. A lot of hat action going on here.
Yeah.
Pabst doesn't change. It's always good.
Again, no beer is always good. All you need to do is go to a dive bar of ill repute to experience a beer that hasn't had the lines cleaned to know it's not always good.
That's all. They do change. Okay, so Jason Alexander has found his way back to this woman.
Is she smoking?
She's smoking like a Corella DeVille long cigarette.
Wow. And also, we just skipped over something important here. It said Pabst is the place. Listen.
Taste the beer, Pabst is the place.
Pabst is the place?
So maybe that was their slogan back there.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's like the Corona ones where it's like find your home. I'm not saying that it's not a good.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's a good one.
Let's put a button on the Jason Alexander drama. Pabst is the place. She's smoking a cigarette. Okay, so she just whispered something to him, and he like passed out. So did you think she was like, well, let's do butt stuff? Like, what do you think she said to him? I mean, it's 1984, so like they're a little bit prudish back then, right?
I don't.
She probably was like, I'm going to kiss you on your forehead or something. You know, it's like,
I'm going to do, let's go perform Girl on Back. And
Girl on Back? What does that mean?
It's missionary.
Oh, okay. Girl on Back?
I still don't understand the Jason Alexander bit of this.
I don't either. I don't know what he has to do with the beer. It's clear that like she's
he wasn't even famous
or,
at this point. He wasn't even a thing at this point.
Well, and that's really part of the media odyssey, but the oddity of this. But this guy,
well, they say it there. Pabst is the place.
Pabst is the place.
It's right.
This guy is somebody. I know he is. God damn it all! I'm gonna think of he was like a featured extra in something very British. I think that might be one of the guys from Pirate Radio, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I digress. Pabst is the place.
I just pulled up a poster on eBay
wow.
saying Pabst is the place.
It's only $6. We have to get it.
We'll get
it's a magazine ad. That's not great. Whatever. I thought it was like a poster.
I
If
mean,
that was like
they
a full-fledged
probably have a
poster for $7, I'd buy that right now.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Pabst is the fucking place. Doesn't make any sense.
You're gonna keep saying it.
Pabst is a drink. Do you feel good about this?
Do I feel good about it?
Do you feel like you've learned everything you need to learn about Pabst?
I've learned where the place is.
If only for the Jason Alexander of it all. It's worth this. It's
You
worth.
think he was wearing a toupee at that point?
Oh no, I think that he was haired. At the very least, comb-overed.
Is that what you refer to people with hair?
Yeah, he was haired.
Are you a haired person or are you a non-haired person?
He was hair plussed. All right. Well, I mean, I don't have anything else to say about Pabst. I think that's a pod.
We should get the poster and put it up in the background.
Okay, we'll do it. For a show that we call Cast Against Type. Castagainsttype at gmail.com. Castagainsttype at gmail.com. Submit your goddamn queries. Please. Please.
Please.
Please. Please. We could use your submissions for the show, and we appreciate the ones that we have received. Also, Cast Against Type on the Instagrams. Cast Against Type on the Tickings and Talkings. Cast Against Type can be found on all of your favorite podding options, including now Amazon Music, which why would you?
And YouTube.
But you know what? You don't have to do
YouTube.
it there. You can also just go the traditional routes. Cast Against Type on Spotify and on Apple Pod.
Pod it up.
If you like what we're doing here, I'm never going to say the phrase that you think I'm going to say.
Smash it.
Matthew might.
I love it.
In the meantime, yeah, please, if you want, you can rate, review, subscribe. That's as low as I'm willing to sink. Is that phrase right there?
Listen, send your topics. We'll put them on. You might, if you want to join the podcast one episode, let us know.
And hey, if you got some mysterious media oddities you want to shovel our way, we're open to interpretation.
Or even drink recommendations you want us to hone in on while we go through these oddities.
Actually, in our last episode, Logan, who submitted a question to us, also suggested that we drink Malort. So if we can get our hands on a bottle of some Malort, we'll do it. We will do it.
We're gonna do it.
God, I feel like there's a lot we've left on the table here. We haven't even talked about Dune 2, but you know what? That'll have to do for another episode.
Pabst is the place.
Pabst is the place. Good night, everybody. Even though it's daytime. Whatever.